This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
Good evening and welcome to Headlines Now at 8 p.m. The hour that brings in all the day's news and updates right here on Ndtv-Hindu. I'm Evelyn Matthew. In a country that's tainted with scam after scam every single day we wake up to. Is a bribe offered or accepted a thing we are now accustomed to? Something we cannot do without? But if we do want to rise to the occasion and report that instance, what if the man in khaki, whom we trust to take action itself, asks you for $1.02? Tonight we bring you a special report on how men who barely make that buck cannot resist but succumb to the insistence by cops, yes, men in khaki, just to go ahead with their daily errands and work. A gentleman who strongly believes in the fifth pillar joins me on the show tonight, and we'll discuss that story in detail and the options really left with the citizen of today. But before we move into that investigative report on Headlines Now, first up, a look at our top stories tonight. The hand that's supposed to strike the lawbreakers is greased with the stains of Mamool. Ndtv-Hindu blows the lid off on the men on khaki. The clock is ticking on the 2011 polls. A rendezvous between the state's political biggies and the assistant to the election commissioner sets the pace. Staging kidnaps is the bigger crime that's certainly on the rise. The top cop of the city warns of serious action against offenders.
I think we should be a little more controlled in reporting cases of kidnapping.
Karunanidhi showers the monsoon-affected districts and people with crores of rupees towards rehabilitation. Stalin joins in chorus. And come the holiday fever, the malls in the city are the busiest, translating every strategy in their books to a clever reality. Let's also take a look at what's making news nationally. The Supreme Court questions P.J. Thomas's functioning as CVC. For the second time, pressure builds on him to take the exit door. CBI raids CWG officials Bhanoth and Verma, who tells NDTV everyone in the committee is responsible. Why book just them? The Speaker's meeting with all parties fails to end the Parliament logjam as the opposition takes its JPC demand to the President. Sharad Pawar reacts to Ratan Tata's Banana Republic comment on NDTV, says government must do something. And India is set to sign the nuclear reactors deal with President Sarkozy, but the French nuclear safety regulator is yet to give its go-ahead. Now imagine a cleaner of a lorry who earns about 150 rupees a day, having to fork out close to half his wages to bribe cops every single day. Now imagine cops forming a cartel of sorts to literally haggle with poor lorry drivers and cleaners, and even devising a system of signing receipts for bribes. The money involved may be a pittance compared to the multi-crore stamps in the country, but the brazen manner in which the men in khaki grease their palms is shocking. Our senior reporter and correspondent Peer Muhammad and camera person Madan caught on camera this trail of corruption on the streets of North Chennai, through which 6,000 trucks pass every day.
Even before their morning cup of tea, these truck drivers and cleaners have an important ritual to complete. And even before signing their beat registers, these cops have this to do. Look closely. This is their daily bribe receipt being signed, just to ensure that truck drivers don't end up being robbed twice. Care for the economics? 20 rupees to pass each truck. For 6,000 trucks that ply every day, that's a tidy 1,20,000 rupees. For this cop syndicate of 11, it's 1,000 rupees of illegal money per head that lines their pockets daily.
காலையில் வரோம் சார் 6 மணிக்கு ஒரு நைட் ஃபுல்லாக வண்டி ஓட்டு வந்து நிம்மதியாக தூங்க முடியறதில்ல. வண்டி வந்து டோர் தட்டி காசு கொடுன்றாங்க. காசு கொடுன்னா இல்லையா, நம்ம இப்போ ஒரு 6 பேர் 7 பேர் என்ட்ரி வாங்குறாங்க. என்ட்ரி வாங்கிட்டோன்னா இல்லை இது இல்லை இன்னும் எங்களுக்கு கொடுங்க, நிம்மதியாக இருக்க முடியல. நான் வேறு வந்து போனதாக இருக்குது. நிம்மதியாக வண்டி நைட்டில் வண்டி ஓட்டிகிட்டு வந்து நிம்மதியாக தூங்க முடியறதில்லை. இது போல் தான் எங்கள் போலீஸ்காரன் டெய்லி பிரச்சனை இதுதான்.
The 6th Pay Commission may have given police constables a 5-figure salary, 11,000 rupees to be precise. But that salary is like pocket money if you compare what some of them get under the table, or rather, quite openly and shamelessly.
Corruption was at the lower level, the osmotic pressure. Slowly from the lower level it started going up. Now I find at the end of the day, I find that it is descending from top. And we started with an SP and we have now got elaborate setup for putting down corruption, and corruption is growing.
Back to the economics. 1,000 rupees a day from truck drivers alone adds up to 30,000 rupees a month of extra money for each of the 11 constables involved in this organized policing. But is that an initial monthly installment to repay what they had to shell out to don this uniform?
6th Pay Commission pay, modernized vehicles have not stopped the police from collecting their daily momol from truck drivers here. Is there any solution for greed? Nobody has an answer. In Chennai, Peer Mohammed, NDTV-Hindu.
And joining us on the show tonight is Mr. Bhanu Kumar, Executive Director with the Fifth Pillar Organization. Thanks very much for coming into our studios and welcome to the show. First off, this mode of corruption is pretty much in vogue right now. But for these truck drivers and go-down owners who exhibit this kind of resistance, they're countered with an insistence of sort by the men in khaki. Is there an option at all left with these people?
There is no option. As a whole, corruption, whether it is in the higher level or middle level or lower level, it is bad for the society.
Absolutely.
It spoils the morality of the people. Especially the police department, they are supposed to be friends to the society.
Yes.
And they are expected to be very near to the society and take care of the requirements of the society. This being done day in and day out, though it looks like a low level corruption, if we look into the amount of money which is involved in the transaction,
yes,
it looks like a middle level corruption or a high level corruption even. This is bad for society. Normally a corruption or a bribe, it goes off the record. Normally we don't get an evidence for a corruption. As far as possible we go unnoticed. But here is an instance where the receipts are being signed. For the amount taken by the cops,
yes,
the receipts are said to be signed. That is something unusual. We can't come across such things in society.
Well, unusual you call it, but police in their defense say that all that they earn is around 11,000 a month in a city like Chennai, which has ever increasing demands nowadays. So in their standpoint, how would you react to that?
All said and done, I accept that the police people have got their own difficulties. Not only police people. A fixed income group, whether it is central government or a state government, in these days of increased cost of living,
right,
and the purchasing power becoming
but
less.
But police in particular in this case, because these are people we would want to report cases of corruption to. So how would you react to that?
There are other avenues where the police people will have to fight for a higher wages, higher emoluments, higher concessions and other perks. But they cannot compensate their loss or compensate their difficulty this way. This can never be justified, and this is being done in a group. For thousands of lorries it is happening, and the cleaner also is a poor man, you should imagine.
Yes.
He is drawing around 150 rupees per day.
Absolutely.
To part with a fair amount of this 150, he will be put into trouble. His family will be in great difficulties. He cannot run his day-to-day family.
So where does an organization like you come in? Is it just another NGO which has a lip service, or what is your role in such cases then?
Now, as long our policy and our motto and our objective is to train the people and tell them that you should know the rules and regulations of the different departments. So if there are rules and regulations concerned with the police department, the consumers and the general public and the cleaners and the lorry owners and the godown keepers, they should abide by these rules and regulations. As long as there is no violation in the rules and regulations of a department, normally anybody need not give a bribe. They can strongly say, no, we are not for it, we can't give it.
All right. So is awareness still a problem that you are facing here in maybe a city like Chennai?
Chennai, I tell you, any department is not free from corruption, and the police department comes in the top 10 of these departments. So everywhere. So what we feel to say, what we have been telling the people, when you go, even when you go on the road, you know when a license is not available with you, what is the fine which could be imposed. When a red signal, parking signal is not given, what is the fine imposed?
Right.
When you don't have a driving license with you, what is the amount of fine which could be imposed? These basic requirements any common man should know.
Right.
So as long as the people are not aware of the rules and regulations, these things are bound to come.
All right. But in a country where we've been seeing so many scams in the recent past, at least, right from a top minister to the constable that we've seen in the story, to even an admission into an LKG grade, where is the problem? Is it a failure of administration, a failure in the politics of the country? Has corruption today become a disease that all of us are afflicted to?
Corruption, as we know, it has become part of life now. It has deeply soaked into the society. And no transaction happens without corruption. And the common man feels he can get his job done early by parting with a few chips and greasing the palm of the officers. That has become the rule of the day.
Yes.
To correct this unhappy, unpleasant situation, it will take some time. So the people will have to be educated, and the officers who are after corruption, I don't say the entire department, entire fleet of officers are after money. There are very honest officers.
Yes.
It is only a small percentage which is bent upon corruption.
Right.
So they should also realize, the society should realize, we should adopt the rules and regulations, we should adopt the Right to Information Act, we should contact the corrupt officers and tell them to behave themselves,
Yes.
and as a last resort, we should trap them also, as NDTV has rightly done.
Right. And while you say the time, there's still time. We hope the time does draw near at least. Thanks very much, Mr. Bhanukumar,
Thank you
for
so
joining
much.
us tonight on the show.
Thank you.
Well, still ahead on headlines now. The stage is set. It looks like kidnaps these days are a child's play. More on that coming up in just a bit.